Anyway, really great to have everyone here. I hope that hope you had a really nice Mother's Day. We sure did, and big thanks to all the ladies out there. I know that your families really appreciate you, and I hope that you had a very wonderful day as well. So we are going to go ahead and jump into kind of our presentation for the week and kind of what's going on, what's happening this week. And so we are starting, or not starting, but we're continuing with our real estate backstory. This is kind of, behind the scenes, what's going on in the real estate market, everything happening, in the Atlanta real estate market, what we're seeing, trends, topics, that kind of stuff. So we'll be doing interviews here and there. We'll be sharing, different business practices and as well as tips and information and what's really happening. So we're going to kind of jump right into, what is going on here. So, let's talk about what's happening in our market today or this week or recently.
Good morning.
So right now, of course, one of the big things that we're seeing out there is that, the unemployment numbers came out on Friday. And now no one was had the idea that, man, things are going to be looking great. But we need to kind of look at this and be wise about it, because not all the numbers are, okay, let me back up. Yeah, the numbers are terrible. Okay, they really are. There's no doubt about it. But we can't let that control us, because the outlook is not terrible. The unemployment is tied to coronavirus. And as we see, wise about it, because
I am so sorry.
So, anyway, sorry, she's trying to chat at the same time as do this. So I don't know. We're going to try and jump back in here, because that was incredibly distracting. So we're going to try and do this all over again. So anyway, so unemployment's really, really high, but it's not all bad. We have we got to look at this in context. So first thing is that, we are seeing a steady trend down. Like if you look at when it first took off, actually we're down from where we were on March 21st kind of thing. And the projection for next week is to be around 2.7 to 2.5. These numbers are going to keep falling. So it is moving in the right direction. And a lot of times when we see a lot of those unemployment numbers, they keep throwing those in there cumulative kind of thing. And so while we are at 14.7 unemployment, that is very true. It is getting better each and every week kind of thing.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, if you break down the job losses, so and you said, okay, of that 14.7% unemployment, what's that really mean? Well, over a third, 1 out of every 3 is a server or a bartender. And I'm not taking anything away from them. I don't mean that they're not important. Don't take that way. But understand that as restaurants reopen, they need servers and bartenders kind of thing. And so as we see restaurants reopen, my concern is a little bit of we are starting to see a couple of restaurants that are not going to reopen.
Right.
And those scare me, because, the places that won't reopen, but by and large, these jobs are coming back. When you look at where the unemployment breaks down into, of course, servers and bartenders, that's the biggie. Then we move into retail. And retail is going to come back. Right now, it's hard to get into shopping, but goodness gracious, if you went out anywhere this past weekend, there were lines at the yin yang for the places that were open kind of stuff. Absolutely. So, we know that retail is definitely coming back. Temporary services, those will, a good piece of those will start coming back, but those will probably be the ones that are the slowest to come back overall. Doctor's offices, those are definitely coming back. But, understand, it seems weird to say that nearly 7% of unemployment is from the medical profession. But when you really think about it, if you're doing, anything that hasn't been if it hasn't been about COVID, most of the healthcare has really been shut down. So, if you do mammograms and these kind of things, well, there haven't been any of those going on. So, there has been a lot of unemployment in the medical profession, unless you were, basic care. engineering, that kind of stuff, all that's coming back.
Construction.
Manufacturing
Right.
is definitely coming back. Childcare, well, so much of the with people sitting at home, childcare has dropped down. So as more people go to work, childcare is going up. Construction, the majority of the construction, especially in speaking with the builders we've talked to, it's been about the availability of people, along with all the other stuff going on, and the work stoppages nationwide. I know here in Georgia it's not as bad, but that's been one of the biggies. Of course, government's going back. Government is never going to get smaller, it doesn't feel like. And then I do believe hotels is going to be one of the slowest ones to come back. I think hotel and that kind of stuff is going to be really long. Hotel, airlines, that kind of stuff is
Right.
going to be really tough. And then there's another category. So, but you can see when you look at how it breaks down, all this as COVID subsides, as coronavirus is goes away, and well, not that it's
And
going to
also
go
temperature
away.
rise, because we
Yeah.
did a little study last night as well, reference to temperature and also how
Well,
that
we were looking
affects.
into temperature because, living here in Georgia, it gets pretty hot. We're kind of wondering, what it goes. Now, we are not doctors, and I don't want to
Absolutely
claim
not.
that we're doctors and that kind of stuff. But we're hopeful that as we get to Georgia, or as Georgia's summer starts kicking in, that we start seeing. Well, I mean, I just know that basically viruses have a hard time in sunlight and hot temperatures. And goodness gracious, you're in Georgia, so we get plenty of that here. So we're hopeful on that front as well. But we're not trying to get into, we're not doctors, so we're not going to get into
The
the
medical.
medical side of
Right.
things, kind
Sorry.
of thing. But we're just trying to be common sense about it all. Now, now we do have 14.7 unemployment, but the other thing we got to realize is we have 85.3 employment. Okay, so it's not all bad. They also polled those unemployed and looked in and talked to those employers and said, are these temporary or permanent? 90% are temporary, meaning as COVID goes away or mitigates or becomes less, more and more people are going to be going back to work. Actually, found out that the people who are really getting hit are our kids.
Right.
Teenagers have around 32% unemployment rate right now. So we've really put the kids not working kind of thing. And a lot of that is tied to the restaurants, that kind of thing too. But, it's not as bad for adult men and adult women kind of thing. So we do have unemployment benefits from the federal government are going to be reducing after July 31st. That's another one. And this is one of those that's kind of a double-edged sword, I think, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of people that having that extra $600 a week from the feds.
It's
I mean,
nice.
well, I mean, they're making more with unemployment and the federal bump than plus state than they would be on some of their jobs, kind of thing. So I think that this is kind of interesting because it does have effects either way, kind of thing. It can go that we have people who will not go and try and get a job until after July 31st. And then we have those that are going to be ready to kind of get out and get moving right now. So, but either way, that is going to also, I mean, as of July 31st, that's going to be over. So we got to start planning on that and start thinking about what does that mean? And we need to be communicating with our clients. One of the things that I really want you to get from these our little weekly chats is that, we've got to be reaching out, engaging, and talking to our clients. None of the news is ever going to be good. We need to be explaining what we're seeing in the real estate world and how that applies to them.
We need to be subject expert on this
Subject
topic.
matter experts. Yeah.
Sorry,
Easy
tongue
to say.
twister this morning. And also just to educate your client, because most your client, once they are informed, they'll make the right decision. They'll move forward versus holding back.
So we also are continuing to see forbearance. And forbearance, it has gone up to 4 million borrowers, but that is really starting to slow. We saw a massive uptick of it, kind of thing. And right now, 7.7% of all mortgages are under some kind of forbearance. But I mean, 3 weeks ago, it was at 6.4. So is it going up? Sure is. Is that is that bad? No. I mean, well, yes, it is bad, but it's not beyond the realm of reasonable, and it's moving in the right direction, kind of thing. So, we are looking at the number of people that are going into mortgage forbearance as they are reducing. It is slowing, and that's a good sign, kind of thing. And as unemployment continues to improve, I think we're going to keep seeing these numbers improve. One thing that we definitely need to be communicating to our clients, though, is that forbearance has a few issues that we need to make sure that we're talking to them about. One is that if you take mortgage forbearance, you might not be able to buy a home. We've already had some sellers that wanted to sell after this, but they took mortgage forbearance and now they can't get a loan. And we're going to talk about more in just a moment about the issues on the lending side. But that's one of those things. Now, the other issue with mortgage forbearance is that even though it sounds really good, there's another side to mortgage forbearance. If the borrower needs to check with their mortgage company, because in some instances the forbearance is added on to the end.
And some is not. It's due upon after how many months the forbearance is good for. So more and more lenders are doing the back end, but always double check.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't want to have someone who goes out and gets 6 months of forbearance, and on month 7 has 7 months of mortgages due at that point, only to find out. And then the other challenge is if they've done that, now they don't qualify for a refinance or anything like that, right, because they've already been in forbearance. So being able to renegotiate that. So there's some potential issues coming up with people who jumped on the forbearance bandwagon but didn't really need to necessarily. So and I know I'm not trying to say if you need it that you shouldn't be doing it. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if you don't,
just make sure your client's educated.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were some issues last week, or not issues, I guess concerns. Were the tenants going to pay their rent? Mm-hmm. We had all these activists out there, especially in New York City, for example, and they sucked up a lot of oxygen in the marketplace. But talking about don't pay your rent, don't pay your rent, don't pay your rent. And thankfully, the majority of people paid their rent. Over 80% paid their rent on time, that kind of stuff. But still, that's something to be concerned about, because and I worry about these people, because these are folks who are really potential buyers for us. And my concern is you listen, somebody listens to an activist like, don't pay your rent, so they don't pay their rent, and they go out and they buy a new Xbox and do stuff like that. And then comes the time when they want to go buy a house, when they want to go out and engage in the marketplace. And guess what? Well, now this is going to show up on their credit.
Absolutely.
This is something that a lot of the activists who are talking about this are not looking at what really happens to these people, who don't pay their rent. Yeah, they can't get kicked out right now, but in a couple of months they're going to get kicked out, or they're going to have to catch this rent up. It's kind of like forbearance for renters. So you don't pay for 2 months. Well, guess what happens on the 3rd month? Well, now they can kick your butt out, and now you can't go get another place, because now you got bad rent history, and it damaged your credit. So we got to make sure that we're communicating with people that they need to be protecting themselves on that kind of thing. So on the mortgage side of things, home loan applications for the 3rd week in a row, demand has gone up. And this is not refinances. This is actual loan applications. Now that's the really good news. And we're really happy about that. The challenge is that for our borrowers, getting that mortgage is harder than ever, kind of thing. And we need to understand what the deal is. So because on one hand, this is definitely a two-edged sword, because right now we have the lowest mortgage rates ever. Okay. We've never in the history since they've started tracking mortgages and mortgage rates, has the rate ever been this low. That's the good news. Now, the bad news is if you don't have a 620 or a 640, you're not going to probably be able to get a mortgage kind of thing.
Right now, some of them are even dropped to 620 right now. There's a couple of lenders I do know out there are taking 620, but once again, your credit rating and the interest rate depends on your credit rating, basically. So if the better credit you have, it's incredible rates right now.
It is, but and this is this goes back into, what do you do with forbearance? What do you do with not paying your rent? What do you do with not paying your bills? That kind of stuff. Because if you want to buy a home, getting that money is harder than ever, kind of thing. The availability of credit is probably the lowest it's been in a long time, kind of thing. And we're seeing that while the rates are really great, they're phenomenal. Those great rates happen at 640. For the most part, 640 to 660, 680 in that range, you can definitely do really, really good. The number of FHA mortgages and that kind of stuff in forbearance, that's the reason why the lower credit scores and so if you're under 620 or 620, you're not going to be getting the phenomenal interest rates. You're just not, kind of thing, because it's all based on risk. So the higher their credit score, the more easily that they're going to be able to get amazing rates out there.
One thing I do have to say, I have seen, because I do the back end of y'all's paperwork, I've seen some that has come in at 2.75. That's incredible,
That's just
y'all.
phenomenal.
Never seen that in a long time.
Well, ever.
And so, but if you have great credit right now, it's taking advantage of it. But if you don't, and as the industry climate changes, I do know, some things are coming back. So you'll see lender relaxing a little bit more, but, it kind of dictates based on stock market and investors. So once again, this is just a temporary thing. And once things get back to normal, you'll see the normal rate coming back up.
We will see. Well, but what we need to be doing in the real estate world is we need to be reaching out, helping those those clients that don't have great credit, to really know that they need to be working on improving their credit. Improving your credit right now should be a big thing that everyone is working on.
Absolutely.
Yet 85% of people still have their jobs. So this is not you can't just be like, well, unemployment's high, my credit's just going to stink. That's wrong way to think right now, because if you get great credit, you're going to be in a really strong position. So protecting that credit. If they don't have good credit, they need to be doing things that work and improve their credit. And if they do have great credit, my goodness, now is a phenomenal time to borrow money.
Oh, yeah.
So that needs to be the message when we're out there reaching out.
Oh, yes.
Also,
guess who came back? Somebody's coming back.
Yeah, the iBuyers are back. So Open Door has begun. OfferPad begins or started back into buying on Friday in Arizona. They'll be back into Atlanta later this week, is what I'm understanding. Redfin is back. Zillow Offers is not far behind. So all the iBuyers are back and getting back into the buy and back into the marketplace. So it's been nice for the past 3 or 4 weeks, because the iBuyers really have not been forced to truly reckon with, and with the reduced number of listings we've had, that was nice not to have that pressure in the marketplace. But guess what? They're coming back. We really need to be ready for them, and we need to be ready to fight, kind of thing.
And really quick on OfferPad, some of you guys may have been approached by OfferPad to service their client. First of all, their rates is highly expensive. You basically are rebating the client 1% while giving a referral to OfferPad for another 1%. So you only get 1/3%. Not only that, because I was reviewing their contract with one agent that one of our newer agent they were approaching, and it looks like that they can jerk that file underneath you if they have a cash buyer for that particular property, and you get absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
for me, it does not make sense at all.
Yeah, that's our concern, and because we read over their agreement, and basically that right now with what's going on with COVID, they're trying to get agents that will quote unquote work with
OfferPad.
And in turn, they'll let you go and list property, and then you give a 1% to them, and you give a 1% back to the client. You keep 1%, but should they decide to buy it themselves, or should they decide to sell it to one of their investors, you don't get a cent. And they can just do that immediately with no compensation either. So it's
we asked for adjustment on their contract. They basically told us no, and we're like, we're not going to deal with it.
Right, because
makes sense.
Yeah, the way that their contract reads is a violation of Georgia license law, and so we're not going to do that. And so I do recommend that if you are playing with the OfferPad folks, that I'm hoping that once they see that that this is truly an issue.
Brokerage refuses to abide by the rules and regulations. Honestly, this is another form of Zillow, if you think about it, except they're way expensive, and they can pull it again underneath you immediately.
Yeah, that scares us. So on the negative side right now, and this is another issue where we really need to be communicating out there into our clients, is that consumer confidence has fallen to the lowest level since 2011.
Yep.
This is not a good thing for us. When surveyed, the average consumer said, is this a good time to buy a home or sell a home? 46% said it was a bad time to buy, and 65% said it's a bad time to sell. Yeah. And that's so crazy wrong. It couldn't even be farther from the truth right now. But we're dealing with a difference between opinion versus reality right now.
Informed versus non-informed. Yeah. And the media has a huge influence on our clients.
Yeah. I mean, as buyers, you're never going to get the interest rates that we have right now. It really is out of this world phenomenal. And as sellers, we're not seeing a drop in pricing, and we're not seeing any kind of price adjustments. As a matter of fact, we continue to see prices appreciating through this right now. A lot of it is highly tied to the supply demand issue. We still have more buyers than we have sellers on the market.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, and you can even see that come forward in the numbers that we're looking at. And so, like, this is from Georgia MLS. This just came out this past week, which said that, total sales overall for Georgia MLS was down 24%. Year to date, they're down 1% on total number of sales kind of thing. New listings also down 24%. And 7%. So we're seeing a lot less listings right now.
Which means the seller's market, y'all.
Yeah. Well, seriously. The other thing is, when you look at current monthly inventory, 2.57 months. Okay, we need 6 months of inventory to have a level market kind of thing. That's where the number of buyers and sellers match is 6 months. We're at 2.5 months of standing inventory. We are still in a seller's market. Now, that's highly dependent on price point for sure, but it's really out there kind of thing. So right now, under contract current listings is down 18%. That's not a great thing for us. Same thing, we also pulled the FMLS numbers kind of thing. So, and it mirrored Georgia MLS almost to the penny kind of thing. So new listings in April down 24% on FMLS as well kind of thing. On the positive side, especially when I started looking at the FMLS numbers kind of thing, closed listings in April were only down 3.78% versus 2019 in FMLS. So that's the fact that we can only be down 3.8% from prior year during COVID.
That's pretty good.
That shows the amount of interest in buying kind of thing. One of the interesting thing with the FMLS numbers that came out is that for the past 6 weeks, we are continuing to have a higher number of showings each week, week over week over week kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And then for as far as pricing goes, through the end of April, pricing is overall real estate values are up 4.3% compared to the same period in 2019. So all those folks are like, this is going to cause a recession. Prices are going to drop. They immediately think this is 08. It's not 08. Matter of fact, pricing is still, real estate values are still continuing to increase. So, the chief economist at Freddie Mac, he said, although with all the uncertainty of the crisis, that kind of stuff, we expect most of the economic damage for the virus will continue in the first half of the year. Going forward, we'll see a recovery starting in the second half of 2020. And I don't know if you've looked at the calendar, but the second half of 2020 is in 3
3
weeks from now.
weeks.
Okay.
Yep.
That's really where it is. And so, and it's not just Freddie Mac kind of thing. CNBC says the same thing, that home buyer confidence is coming back, that they're jumping back in. A lot of financial institutions are all calling for a second half recovery. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, they're all showing that we're moving back into the second quarter kind of thing. The other thing I find really interesting, and this is from Showing Time, and this is really, this is up to the minute data kind of thing. And so this is from Showing Time, and they pulled up and said, what was the show, how many showings now versus,
Right.
what's our trend? Guess what? We have the same number of showings right now as we had in January of this year. So yeah, granted, April is normally a much better month than January is for that kind of stuff. But that being said, you can see what the trend is. It looks like roughly 3 or 4 weeks ago was when we hit our bottom on showings, and things are definitely starting to increase. And there's no sight that, or there's nothing that looks like this trend is going to drop back down. As a matter of fact, with the state opening up, and less cases showing up, which has been a blessing. I'm really expecting to see this continue to increase as we go along. Some other really good news that came out. So they just did a recent, Johns Burns Consulting did an analysis of homeowners kind of thing, and found out it used to be 37% of homeowners own their homes full and clear.
Right.
And there was up to 42% of all the homes out in the U.S. have no mortgage. They're fully owned.
Incredible.
And another almost 17% have between 60 and 199% equity in their home. Another, 12.5% have around 50% equity in their home. I mean, right now, only 7% of our properties have less than 10% equity out there. And we know that the market, we see that prices are appreciating, and we see that our homeowners have a lot of equity in their home. We're not seeing people underwater. And with the way that pricing is going, we're not going to see people underwater. So right now, right at about 60% of Americans have at least 60% equity in their homes. So this is not 08. We need to be communicating this to our clients and letting folks know, listen, 42% of homes are owned outright. And according to CoreLogic, the average equity of mortgaged homes across the U.S. is $177,000. I find that absolutely staggering kind of thing. I did not realize that number was that large, and that's some really great information for us to have. And so, as far as feeling, how comfortable are you with where our market is going, with what's happening in our market? You should be very, very comfortable with all this right now, because look, housing is going to be leading the way into our recovery kind of thing. CoreLogic's chief economist, Frank Nothat, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name or not, I'm probably butchering, but he says the exact same. Pent-up demand, shortage of inventory is going to stimulate home building, home buying kind of thing. Housing has the opportunity to really rescue our economy. That being said, right now, one of our biggest challenges out there is listings. We don't have enough listings, the number of listings dropped. We don't have enough homes to sell right now.
Absolutely.
And so we need to be getting more inventory, really do. Housing supply remains at historically low levels. So house price growth is not likely to slow. This is from the chief economist at First American. We're not seeing prices appreciate. What we are seeing is a lot of demand. So you can see in February that, so on the two graphs on the left, this shows maps of the U.S. and it shows at the top is the amount of sellers traffic versus buyers traffic. What kind of interest there is in listing your property. And so dark blue is good, light blue is okay, and gray is not great. And so we can see that it was okay on the seller traffic, but not phenomenal. We only had 2 states that were really interested in selling. And however, all but 2 states in the U.S. did we have a lot of buyer traffic going on. Now, moving into March and April, we're looking at very few states where seller traffic is decent. Only Alaska is the only one that has any. And buyer traffic, even though reduced, is still significantly stronger than our seller traffic. So we got to look at what can we do to help, facilitate more sellers. I'm not trying to talk somebody into selling, but I also don't want people to miss out on this fact that now's a great time to sell. I mean, you can sell your home, capture some equity, buy a new home with some of the lowest interest rates ever.
And I can tell you right now, from the back end, the listing that goes on the market typically right now sell within a week if it's priced right. So I seen contracts coming in with the listing. Next thing I know is sold. So if you have a really great listing presentation right now, call these folks. Geographic farm. And become the expert in that particular area.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, you can make a lot of money right now if you just practice a little bit. Get an accountability partner to help you in crafting your listing presentations. If you need some of these data, these handouts are available to you guys every week, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, we always post the PowerPoints or the PDFs of everything that we share on these reports, so you're more than welcome to have these. One other thing I want to encourage you is to take advantage of Homebeat. And if you're not familiar with Homebeat, I just kind of want to cover it really quickly, kind of thing. So this is a FMLS service. Now, this is part of the Cloud CMA suite of services. And if you have, and this is going out to more than just maximum one agents. This is going out to a lot of everybody. Right. So
FMLS members.
So if your brokerage is a member of FMLS, you have the Pro Suite of Cloud CMA. Part of Cloud CMA, when you log into Cloud CMA, there's a button which says Homebeat. I want you to seriously consider going in and using this to reach out to your clients, because what this is it gives you a chance to go in, you input your sellers or your potential sellers information, and then you go in, you set up a client, and then you decide how often do they want to get market information on selling their house. Now, they don't do an AVM or a Zestimate or anything like that, but they show them actual homes in their area, what's selling, and they offer a CMA for you. You get to decide if you want this to go to your clients monthly, quarterly, twice a year, or yearly kind of thing. So you can set it up on here. You go in once you set yourself up in the Homebeat system or in the Cloud CMA system, put in your profile, your picture, your website, all your branding information kind of thing, and then it shares your information to them automatically. What I like about this is it's on autopilot. Right now, a lot of us still have a good bit of time on our hands. Go in, put all your clients into Homebeat. Now if your CRM is doing this for you already, then definitely go through your CRM. But if you don't have any, and if you're not doing some kind of an auto drip, some kind of a client engagement for your sellers, look at using Homebeat, because as long as you have an FMLS access through your brokerage, this is free, okay? Free 99. We are all about free 99. Also, look at taking advantage of the coming soon status. In both of our MLSs, we have the ability to take it to utilize coming soon. Reach out to your clients. Let them know that, we can pre-list your property for 21 days before we actually put it on the market, kind of thing. Kind of help give our clients more time to ease anxiety over coronavirus. Give them a little more time to get property ready. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
and just give you a great, this is a conversation starter kind of thing. But the other side of this is you can get buyers off it too. So, that whole coming soon area, you can put that out there on the sign, you can put it in the MLS, and you can help to kind of generate buyers for that property beforehand. So, while we want to always kind of keep upbeat about everything going on, we also like to look at different businesses and kind of see how they correlate to the real estate world. And I want to talk about the largest real estate chain in the U.S. In 1925, Howard Jonsons started an ice cream shop in Boston. And he only had 3 flavors: vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. And he played with it, and he found out, if I add a lot more butter fat and I make these things really delicious, it will do, more people will come. And he did it, and sales went up. And he expanded his flavors until he got up to 28 different flavors. And then sales doubled and doubled again and then doubled again. And so he started opening up more and more units, kind of thing. When he opened up more stores and then said, you know what? If they're going to have ice cream, maybe they want food. So he started serving food. And then he said, the car, this is at the point when the automobile industry in the U.S. started exploding. He said, Americans love their cars. And while out traveling, it sure would be good if they can sell, or if they could have something to eat when they're out there. So he realized that food quality was really, really paramount to their success. And so he went out and he hired 4-star Michelin chefs from New York City. These are chefs that turned down jobs to work in the White House, kind of thing. And so and they went to work for him. He centralized all his food distribution channels, and he set up commissaries, kind of thing. He created this thing called the HoJo, the Howard Jonsons Bible, and it was how rules, standards, procedures for service and taking care of clients in there. At the time, he was the very first restaurant franchisor. So they basically created restaurant franchising, kind of thing.
Concept.
At that point, they said, people are out driving cars, eating food. Sure, it'd be nice if they could spend the night. So they started hotels and doing that. But then World War II came, and with World War II, they shut down all but 10 all but 10 of their restaurants, kind of thing. So what they do? They opened their commissaries up to the military, and they started producing food for the military. So afterwards, World War II gets over. They reopen all those up, and it just keeps growing. By 1954, there's 400 units open. So then so they set their eyes on adding lodging, lodging,
to their business.
So, in 1970, there was 1,040 restaurants. They were the largest restaurant chain in the United States, in the world, actually. And then they sold for $630 million, which is like $2 billion today, kind of thing. But the new leaders have a different vision, and they kind of forgot about their customers. They were asked to squeeze payroll, conserve water. They wouldn't let them serve water. We all know how much water costs, but they wouldn't let them serve water because they didn't want that. Sales continued to plummet. They reduced the food quality. They reduced the portions and kept the same price. They stopped training. They didn't maintain their facilities. They thought, what, we'll just open more restaurants. So they opened up. They tried expanding into 5 different concepts. It kept floundering. They closed more. They sold off to Marriott, and then they sold off all the hotels. They were down to 400 stores, and they sold again, and then closed stores, sold again. And so by 2007, there were only 8 HoJos in the entire United States by 2007.
So you went from 1,000 to 8 with a span of 37 years.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, but now there's one Howard Jonsons left, one.
There's just one.
And it's for sale. So I had to tie this all back to real estate. So the last Howard Jonsons is for sale. It is in Lake George, New York, kind of thing. And honestly, it looks like they haven't learned their lesson, because I pulled it up, and they have
the new management.
They've got 2.5 stars. Their rating is 2.5 out of 5, and their reviews. I mean, on the list of stinky, they're pretty high up there. I mean, the reviews are really, really terrible. People go there for nostalgia, but no one goes because the food's great, the quality's great, things like that. They really have forgotten who
their clients are.
Yeah,
and so they forgot service. They forgot what's important. They lost their sight who their clients are, and that's the bottom line. So
I mean, when you look at the keys to their success, was they focused on their clients and their customers. Yeah. And they wanted to improve that atmosphere, I mean, that experience, you know, more flavors, better food, better service. They focused on that. And you know, they faced obstacles similar like what we're facing with COVID right now.
Absolutely.
They had World War II. They had to set up these distribution channels. They had to set up commissaries, that kind of stuff. They had to constantly improve their standards and their systems. They set up the HoJo Bible, training manuals, standard procedures, that kind of stuff. And then they looked for opportunities for growth, you know, how people were loving cars, opening, you know, starting franchising, you know, adding hotels.
They're on the forefront of research and improvement.
And then look at what happened when the new leadership took over. You know, they failed to keep the customers first. They also had this idea that, you know, that whole thing about, you know, we're too big to fail. Wrong. Kind of thing. You know, yesterday's achievements have no bearing on today's successes. And that's one that definitely applies to us, because a lot of us like, hey, I did great last year. No, it's what you're doing right now. You know, they also focused only on cost. They were looking at how to extract value instead of creating value for their clients. They stopped innovating, they cut out all advertising, they stopped training, and they stopped improving systems and standards. And so my concern for us in the real estate world is, as coronavirus came out, kind of thing, I've just seen a lot of real estate folks that have stopped improving systems and standards, cut out marketing, cut out training, stopped innovating, stopped, you know, only looking at cutting costs and not looking at improving their clients' experience. And so if you want, you know, that we just shown, that's the recipe for failure. And we need to make sure that as real estate professionals, we're not letting that happen with our business, kind of thing. So first of all, I want to make sure that you guys are out there filling your head with really good stuff.
Motivation.
Well, motivation, but also training, education, you
Right.
know, up here. You've got some time right now. You know, of course, you can find a bunch of classes on our MX1 training website. We also have, you know, if you are a Max One agent, we have Workplace by Facebook, and you're more than welcome to always go in and see all of our recorded videos and trainings in there. You can find free training on GAMLS, FMLS. A lot of the brokerage sites also have some amazing training out there. Read a lot of books right now. Not just right now, overall. The average CEO for a Fortune 500 company reads 60 books a year. Guess what? You are the CEO of your company.
Absolutely.
So if you don't like to read, use Audible, use Blinkist, but you got to be filling your head with really, really good stuff. And then you got to be looking at, how am I going to systematize my business, kind of thing. You know, we got to stop being gunslingers, and it's got to be, how are we going to create systems to where we can, that are very repeatable. And so how do you service a buyer? When you get a buyer in, what's your process for servicing that buyer? Because you want to do that really good and continue to improve it, but you want to do it, you know, have your system. Same thing. How do you service a seller? What are your standards? What are your systems for that? How do you handle a referral lead? What do you do with that? How do you handle a cold lead? What do you do with those? You know, do you have a buyer's presentation? Do you have a listing presentation? And then do you have checklists that keeps you in line and in tune with what you're doing? You know, now is the time. If you don't have these systems in place and you want to grow a business, now's the time to focus on this, not to focus on cutting costs. You need to be, and not that this is, you know, first of all, none of this right here is costly. Okay. This all requires a little bit of thought process and planning and working out, kind of thing. But you need to be focusing on systematizing your business. You also need to be looking at your schedule right now, because yes, on one hand, you are the CEO of your company. You can get to, you get to decide if you come, if you go, if you don't. But guess what? You're also employee number one.
Absolutely.
And so if you came out of a corporate world or that kind of stuff, used to be you had someone holding you accountable to get to work and to go to work on time. That is you now. You've got to make sure that's right. So you got to get up early. Okay. With COVID, all of a sudden, everybody suddenly thinks they live in Las Vegas. You know, no one knows what time it is. Nobody knows what day it is. I have no idea if it's dark or light
pants
outside.
Are for sale.
Yeah. And half of y'all aren't wearing pants, which hopefully if you go to Vegas, you wear pants. But anyway, so we need to get up early. We need to get dressed. Getting dressed is one of those things that when you get up and you get dressed, you go get things done. If you stay in your jammies, you're not getting nothing done. Okay. Set your routines. You need to have a steady routine for what you do that has, objectives. What am I going to accomplish today? And then where am I working? A lot of times the environment that we create for ourselves is really, really important, because if you just try and work at a kitchen table, that can be a really tough place to work. So what is your environment? Where do you go to work? And then you have to know in your mind, when you say, I'm going to go to work, what does that mean? What does going to work mean? What is the systems? What are the processes? What do I do when I go to work? You know, last thing you got to do is you got to make sure you're lead generating every single day. So decide on your lead generation activities and then follow through on them. This is what you're going to work is done, but you have to decide what that is. And of course, right now is the time for your database. So everybody should definitely be working on their database, setting up their database. You know, reach out to them daily, of course, voice, text, email.
Social media, video.
Well, but social media is another one right now. So many people are in social media. The importance of social media has just gone through the roof.
Right.
So, you know, and then of course doing videos. So we are really, really glad that you guys have watched this long, and we appreciate you. We hope that this has been of value to you. If we can be of any service, please let us know. We're available through, you know, call, text, smoke signals. We don't care.
Favors.
Yeah, it is. So, but thank y'all very much.
Absolutely.
We love and appreciate y'all. If we can be of any service, please let us know.
Have a great day.